We are Group 4, working on the flight of the Goeben. My name is Mike Serpa.
Daniel Nutter.
Caitlin Dreckenmiller.
Melody Lee.
And Rochelle Lawson.
So our project was to implement a functional computerized version of the old board game called The Flight of the Goeben, so that each player could use a different computer and communicate in some form over the internet. The game The Flight of the Goeben simulates naval combat based on the pursuit of the Goeben and the Breslau, a historic event that happened days before World War I. So our goals for this project were to implement player-to-player communication, ship movement, a system for combat, win conditions and ending the game, ship details, and a good user interface.
So this is the game flow diagram. You first create the game with the options you choose. Players will place their ships that they have available for placement, and then the game will actually start, which for each turn you will do 3 times move phase, search phase, and end phase, where you can move your ships, search for opposing ships, and fight ships that you found. Then you'd end the turn and move and repeat the process until you eventually end the game.
This is the part of the user interface called the home screen, where a player can create a new game, invite another player to their game, and then that player can either accept or decline their invitation. And they can also review certain stats like the number of wins and the number of losses they've had.
Okay, and this is the user interface for the game itself. Every phase, this panel changes. Right now it's in the move phase, and it has the move and refuel buttons, but if we're in search phase, it would change appropriately. Right here, whenever you have ships selected, this panel here will display the ship's name, its fuel, and how many moves it has. This panel here displays certain the information, and review progress tells you more information that you would need to know, such as the things you found during search phase. And here we have buttons to end the phase, to view your victory conditions, save game, and exit game, and finally, we have the top panel here, tells you your turn, what phase, and of course we have the map. Blue obviously for ocean, green for land, and the anchors here for ports.
Alright, so a few of the things that we accomplished. We successfully were able to get 2 computers to communicate with each other using shared network drive and file sharing.
We managed to implement ship movement with fueling, the moving along available locations, and calling rates, and a combat system based off of ship ranks such as battleship or cruiser. You target correct ships, and of course searching to find the ships that you're going to fight.
Like I said, we have a combat system and the win conditions, point tracking. Basically, as the game goes on, the player has different conditions that they, win conditions they have, and they gain points for beating those conditions. Ship details, refueling rate, speed, and gunnery protection, and of course the user interfaces I mentioned earlier.
Business potential, we can have a feature integration that may be sold for profit. We can also add to it, add other maps, other scenarios, and we have a solid platform to allow for customization.
So suggestions for future development, we didn't implement a save game functionality, so you of course can't continue the game. If any group comes along that has good AI background, they could create a single player game versus an AI. There are advanced rule sets into the game that we did not implement. Being able to, a more advanced history log system that you could search through. Of course, every game could always use better graphics and sound, especially since we're only using basics, and perhaps later on, user accounts and making it an online game.
Basically, we built a functional, easy-to-play game that was based off of the Flight of the Goeben board game.
Now we will show you a demo of our game. This is the home screen where the player can create a new game, and if they're wirelessly connected, they could accept or decline invitations as well. They could also review what their machine name is, as well as their total number of wins and losses. In this demonstration, we will show playing a game on one computer. So first the player needs to select New Game, which will bring them to this screen to select the different options for that game. We will use the basic rule set. It will be multiplayer with the scenario of Flight of the Goeben. We'll choose British as our side, and we'll enter our opponent's name who will play with us, and we'll be playing on one computer. So now we'll hit start game, and we'll hit ready when we're ready to play.
Now I will be demonstrating the game portion of this demonstration. You can place ships by clicking the hex in which you wish to place. You can see here the name of the ship you are placing. You can select a ship by clicking on a hex and clicking on the name. When you select a ship, you can see the ship's name and coal and how many moves it can make this turn. You can move by clicking the move button, and you'll get a highlight of all the hexes you can move to, and you can just click on the hex which you're moving. Whenever you go to a port, you can refuel, and whenever you move, of course, you lose fuel. You can see that I moved, so we're at 35 coal, and I can hit refuel, and now we're back at 36. Now it's the next player's turn, their move phase. The German player, not German, the British player starts at this port automatically. They don't get to place their ships. So I'm moving a couple of their ships this way. The next phase after the move phase is the search phase. You can only search in places where you have a ship. So if I click search C and I click over here where I have no ships, it tells me I have to be in an area to search it. So if I search here, I have a ship here, but the enemy also has ships in this sea, so it's found. Same thing if I were to search with the British player. Fight only works if you have two ships on the same, if the two players have ships on the same hex, which obviously they don't at the moment, so I'll move this ship to here so it's on the same hex with some of the other British ships. Now that we have ships on the same hex, we can search this hex, and it tells us the enemy ships that we found in that search. And so now we can click fight and fight with the ships on that hex. Okay. And as you can see, the Goeben has taken 3 hits to its speed, so combat has occurred. Now, that's most of the features of our game. The way you win is by doing certain victory conditions. Each of these victory conditions gives a certain number of points, and the game goes
until a certain number of turns. Whoever has the most points at the end wins. And we can exit the game by hitting this button. Thank you for watching our little demo here.